She's a super freak. She's super freaky, yeah. Hello and welcome to the next episode of Matt and Todd Go to the Movies with special guests Marie and Tim. Welcome. This is the podcast where all four of us went and saw a movie at our local Regal Cinema Theater, and now we're going to talk about it in Matt, Todd, and the Pilot, in the scary corner of the parking lot, with a cop car not too far away from us, with a plane going overboard, and we're going to talk about things like, should you see this movie? Should you not see this movie? Should you see it in theaters, or can you wait for streaming? Should you snack, craft, or nap during the movie, or should you strictly pay attention so you don't miss anything? We'll try to answer all that and more, or maybe less. I am Todd Dolan.
And I'm Matt Malloy, and yes, we saw a movie. The name of this movie is called No Hard Feelings. I guess the name of this movie is No Hard Feelings.
Yes.
The name of this movie is not called No Hard Feelings.
It just is.
It just is.
Yeah.
But the movie is called No Hard Feelings.
There it is.
Anyway, we saw this movie. It's called No Hard Feelings. It had a small cast, but there were a couple notable people, and Tim, give it to us.
Well, our lead is in the star power is Jennifer Lawrence, of course, who's been in a lot of things over the years, mostly the Hunger Games as her main. She was in the X-Men prequel franchise, you could call it, and of course Silver Linings Playbook and other things that she's won Oscars for. It's her first movie in a while, I think. And then the other big name in it is Matthew Broderick as the father of the main kid in this. His name is Andrew Barth Feldman. I don't think he's been in anything major, although this is a good breakout role for him. He's mostly been in Broadway stuff. And then a slight shout out to Laura Benanti, who plays his mother. She's been in a few things, but I wouldn't say she's a household name. That's really the core cast of this.
Core cast. Yes. Not a big cast by any means. So what's this movie about? Well, Jennifer Lawrence's character is a bit down on her luck. She lives in a rich town on Long Island called Montauk. Yeah. And she has a house there, but she owes back taxes, and her car is getting repossessed, and so she's got to figure out a way to make some money, or get a car and make some money, or make some money with a car. So she decides that she's going to answer an ad from a couple parents, Matthew Broderick and whoever plays his wife.
Laura
You just
Benanti.
said it. Yes, that's that lady. They put an ad out that said, "Hey, we're looking for someone to date our son for the summer, and if you do that, we will provide you with a car." So she says to herself after much deliberation, "Hey, I need a car, and even though I'm 32, I will date your son, a 19-year-old. And so she kind of interviews with them, and they say okay, but it's all a secret from him, which is always the setup for these comedies, these sitcomedies, situation comedies, romantic situation comedies. Somebody has a secret, and that's where the things get good. So she ends up, sort of surreptitiously meeting this guy, and then there's a lot of awkwardness. He's a very sheltered kid, and her goal is to have sex with him to get the car, and his goal is to try and not be awkward, but he can't help it. And so as things go, hijinks ensue, and they develop some kind of real connection, and of course he finds out that she's sort of doing this for a car, and so it's sort of color by numbers at that point as to what happens. I don't think that's a spoiler what I just said, but at the end they get to reconnect and figure out how they really feel about each other, and that's the movie in a nutshell. There's plenty of hijinks and wacky stuff, and It's a rare sex comedy from Hollywood these days, but we do get plenty of sex jokes in this one.
I think this summer is going to be the summer of raunchy comedies coming back.
Okay.
They're trying.
We've got this movie. We've got the Joyride with the ladies.
Bridesmaids type thing.
Okay.
There's another one that I'm thinking
dog.
of. The dog
the
one.
dogs.
Yeah, just in trailers alone for this movie.
Yeah, they're trying to cater to this audience, obviously.
Which, hey, I'm all for it.
I do, actually.
Yes, raunchy comedies. Bring them on, bring them back.
Fun when it's done.
Just don't screw up.
Right.
Yeah.
Don't screw up. That's all we ask.
Was this movie a screw up? Ooh, we're gonna find out.
We're gonna find out, and we're gonna find out from Todd right now. Give us your gut reaction to
This movie's not a screw up, I would say. Just to start off,
Yeah,
I do think it got a little formulaic, which I think is
it's hard not to these days.
Well, yes, but then also further down the pipe this summer is a movie about talking dogs that the whole plan is to bite a guy's penis off.
Yes.
Which I'm like, that's pretty original, I think.
Yeah. That's
So it can happen.
yes.
And that's like a little minus to me. It really wasn't that big of a deal. I just felt for myself personally, about halfway through the movie, I was like, I can pretty much see where this is going. And then halfway through the movie, I made my own ending, which I think would have been much better. But I'm not going to share it on the podcast. Someone can privately message me if they'd like it. So to start off with, as I was telling Tim when we walked out of the theater, to me this movie was carried by the main guy, not Jennifer Lawrence, the guy.
Andrew Feldman.
And that's not a total knock on Jennifer Lawrence. I just thought he nailed his part really well of the awkward person who is just awkward, stuck in a shell, blah, blah, blah. And I think Jennifer Lawrence did well as well. And that says a lot for me to say that, because I just haven't been the biggest fan of Jennifer Lawrence. But I thought she really dove head first into this role. And I mean, everyone, I think, all the side characters, the parents, the friends, I think everyone did well in their roles. They all played their part to make a lot of scenes throughout the entire movie just, funny, but then some scenes just went the extra mile to make it even more funny. And honestly, in this day and age, with all the stuff going on in the world, it's nice to go to the theater and just laugh for a while, which is why I think these movies are important. It doesn't have to be a raunchy R-rated comedy, but it's just nice to go and your brain gets turned off a little bit and you just laugh. So that this movie fills that role a lot to me. And that's not a knock against it. I think that's a praise for it. We need to go to the theater and laugh and have a good time. Along with maybe learning something serious about ourselves along the way. Sure, why not? So, now, when it comes to should you see this movie in theaters, for the first time ever, I think it's completely up to the listener. I don't know what to say, you gotta see this movie in theaters. I don't think seeing it in theaters is gonna enhance the viewing experience. Honestly, I think maybe even watching it at home where you can laugh as loud as you want and stuff like that, or maybe watch it with friends and laugh as loud as you want, may even be a better experience. So that's a hard one. If I'm saying don't see it in theaters, it's not a knock against the movie. It's just that you can get the experience anywhere you watch it, I think. I just don't think being in the theater enhances anything, and I don't know if watching it from home decreases your experience anyway. So I'm pretty neutral in that areas. But there are a lot of, at least from what I was hearing by the people sitting by me and around me and myself, there are a lot of laugh out loud moments for this movie. I think it probably has my second favorite naked fight in cinema history, which was very funny that it happened. The first one being the movie Eastern Promises with Viggo Mortensen, which
that's a serious fight, though.
Yes. And but it was a little out of nowhere and just hilarious. I couldn't stop laughing at it. And so I think if you're looking for a good time to just laugh and maybe even escape life in the world, go see this movie. Have a good time. Bring some friends. and laugh and just have fun.
Enjoy yourself.
You know, if you're like, that movie's not for me, then I'm not going to say, hey, go see it in theaters. You know, like, don't see it or wait for streaming. So, otherwise, I thought it had a very witty script.
Yeah.
Performances are pretty well. Not too many things that were any kind of cringe-worthy to me. A couple of times I cringed a little bit, but nothing
I think it was going for that.
so over offensive or anything like that, if that makes sense. So that's where I'm going to leave it, because I'm interested to hear what everyone else has to say. So, Marie?
Thank you, Todd.
You're welcome.
Wow,
I didn't mean to throw you for a loop there.
no hard feelings.
Well, no, I was really listening to what you had to say, and I agree with a lot of it. When I saw the trailer before coming, I went, that is going to be a ridiculous movie.
Yep.
And I was correct. It was a ridiculous movie, but it was also sweet and funny, and it was a nice escape for a couple of hours. It was interesting to see Jennifer Lawrence to try to do comedy, which I had not seen her do comedy before. And so that was different and interesting, but also trying to mix the comedy with the seriousness they were trying to weave in there was fun. I don't have a ton to say about it. It was sweet, it was silly, it was ridiculous, it was a nice escape. There were some good jokes. I have mixed feelings about the naked fight scene. Because I don't know, because there's been a couple of movies over the years where it's been like, and this is the movie where this female actress gets naked in, and so that was what flashed. I was like, okay, great.
That's funny. I didn't think they were going for that kind of reaction at all, really, because it was such a goofy scene. Like it wasn't even there to like titillate.
No,
outside of it, it was like.
You're right, it wasn't. But I was like, there.
But
she
went all in.
naked on the screen.
She went all in.
Right out of nowhere.
Yep.
Not her first time, by the way.
Okay, well, my first time seeing her boobs.
Yeah.
Okay.
What was her first time, Mr. Skin?
Sadly, I know the answer. It was Red Sparrow.
Oh.
We saw it
right,
together,
that's
I
right.
thought.
Did
Not
we?
for the podcast.
Okay.
Because
But-
I remember talking to you, or whoever I saw it with, I was like, I wonder why this was the movie she decided to play that card.
Oh.
Because I was like, this movie wasn't worth that
Right,
card.
right.
Like, if
This
you were
was
going to
just-
play that card, I was like,
funny.
But that's kind of what I felt about this one. I was like, really? Is this? But
Yeah.
anyway, but
Yes,
it was funny. I thought some things were a little bit choppy, and there was like some character incongruency for her character. Like she showed a wide range of emotions, but she was all over the place sometimes. But her character was also a hot mess. So that could just be what it was. But anyway, I had a good time. It was fun. It was formulaic. But, I haven't seen a good rom-com type movie in a while. So it was kind of nice to see this genre of movies.
nice. Tim?
Yeah, I think I'm not straying far from everybody's feelings so far. This actually was a pleasant surprise. The trailer for me, because they sold it on all the raunchiness, and what I felt was, while there was that, this movie had heart, and actually a really nice heart. Like, it was a sweet movie. Sweet is a good word. It's sweet.
Yeah, I thought it was sweet.
Heart, like it tugs on the strings a little bit, and like you said, Todd, the lead guy, Andrew Feldman, he did a fantastic job playing an awkward guy, and I wouldn't even say not like a Hollywood, like over the top awkward, like a real life, just awkward kid who just means well.
Not like a Patrick Dempsey from Can't Buy Me Love.
Right, yeah, not like hey, look how nerdy this kid is. It was more of like a really like sheltered kid who just didn't know how to act, but he wanted to, he just didn't know how. And I thought he did a great job portraying that. And then Jen Lawrence was a great foil for that, because she was all in on this role. She clearly said, I'm going to dive in on this and attack it almost. And I thought, and I am a Jen Lawrence fan, and I thought she really was kind of the star of this movie. She was anyway, but like she really brought her end of the comedy and wasn't afraid to look silly or to, say stupid things and just be in the role, but also bring the emotional part when needed to really anchor the story and the heart of the story, and that's hard to do. And I thought she did that really well.
I loved her physical comedy. There was so much
she was
physical
very
comedy.
good at that.
It was great.
But she also has a very good dry humor, and that helps with the script too. The script, like you said, Todd, was really sharp and felt real, and yet also, extreme at times. But it worked for the kind of comedy they were going for. It wasn't afraid to be silly and weird, but in a situational way where you're just like, this is crazy, but I love it. And so I applaud this movie for balancing goofy comedy with some, not exactly romantic comedy, but like seriousness when needed to be and real emotions, even when you're following the formula. Because sometimes the formula is there because it works, and you need to get to the formula to get to the resolution you need to. And sometimes you don't have to reinvent it. And I thought this movie had the perfect ending for these characters, and
I agree.
And it's also even left open a little bit, and that's fine. You can believe that these characters are going to live their lives, but they're going to stay in touch, and I think that's nice. So overall, I was very pleasantly surprised by this movie. Matt?
Well, yeah. So you guys have covered most of the bases here. I don't stray far from what you've just heard from everybody else.
Do you ever regret rating last?
No,
because that is.
I never regret it.
It does,
Okay.
yeah. No,
I love it. In fact,
Okay,
Yeah.
good.
it gives me a chance to. This is a little behind the scenes, Matt and
Yes.
Todd Go to the Movies podcast, but it gives me. I think I'm good at encapsulating and.
Yes.
Summarizing, so I think it's good for me to go last. I also don't have the breadth of necessarily movie knowledge that you guys have. I'm more like, I'm here. This is what I remember is this movie.
Yep.
If I hope I
we
can
need
remember
that
this movie.
perspective. We need that perspective.
Yeah. So I like going last for that reason.
All right.
But so this movie, I watched the trailer and I was excited for this movie, and I was like, oh, we're gonna get a raunchy comedy. I feel like we almost never get those these days, for various reasons, and some of them are legitimate, and there's certain comedy we can't really do anymore in this world, and that's a good thing. But
Spoiler alert, there's no blackface in this movie.
Nope.
That's what people were thinking.
there is no blackface in this movie. But there also is no real, I don't think, exploitive stuff in this movie, which I think in older times you would have movies like this that would be more exploitive towards, especially towards women. No, Jennifer Lawrence is in this wholeheartedly, fully naked on screen, but I didn't feel like it was. I felt like it was played for laughs, and I felt like she was in on the joke.
Yes,
and I
I
felt like she
definitely-
was wholeheartedly saying, "Yeah, I like this joke. We're going to do this joke," and
almost
Yeah.
in the most unsexy way, just to make it
yeah.
even funnier.
So,
So you're just like, oh.
and I have to say that was probably my favorite scene in the movie.
Yeah. It just was so
It
sudden.
was so funny. It was so
Just her like, they're what? Oh, this is.
Yeah.
And she just stormed out and
She
did.
she just runs out of the ocean and beats up some
These guys
kids,
who
and
tried to take
she's
their clothes.
fully naked and suplexes a guy
Yeah, that was.
on the beach right next to the ocean, and that's high comedy for me.
Yeah.
So yeah, is it formulaic? Like you said, Tim, yes, it is, and sometimes you need that
It's okay.
to get there. There are some twists. You don't usually have this type of large age gap, and well, maybe you do sometimes. But
Helicopter parents.
Yeah. We're talking 32 in the movie to 19.
yeah,
But I don't think Jennifer Lawrence is 32.
No, she actually is.
She really is 32?
Mhm.
I didn't realize I was so much older than her.
wow,
That makes me
Remember,
feel
she
old and sad.
remember she started young.
yeah. Well, anyway, I enjoy the movie. I didn't enjoy it probably as much as I thought I might. But it was a different type of movie. It turned out to be a different type of movie than what I was expecting. You're right, Tim. The trailer sold it as this is a totally raunchy comedy, and what we got was raunchy comedy with some heart.
And there was also I don't mean to interrupt you, but
No.
I just thought of something. There was also a really interesting theme and nod to privilege.
Oh yes, for sure,
For the privilege of the summer population, but also there were at least 2 other comments about other groups that are not white privileged people, where I thought that was good that was acknowledged in there.
That was nice. Yeah, I agree.
Just as a little.
Yeah.
Definitely a theme in the background of the whole movie.
Specifically, the party scene had a very meta element to it of we're going to do our raunchy jokes, but then the commentary in the movie about the raunchy jokes is like, you can't say that anymore.
Yeah.
And then you
I thought
laugh
they
at the
played
people
that
who
well.
are saying you can't say that anymore while laughing at the jokes. So it was like...
Yeah, it was a double level.
They played it really well, I thought.
Yeah.
Like, in a little meta scene there.
I agree with that too.
Yeah, I forgot about that part. That wasn't what I was thinking. But
Yeah.
That was all, but yeah, it kind of goes with...
yeah.
There was more going on in this movie than just sex jokes and romantic stuff.
Right.
Yeah.
But there's plenty of sex jokes.
There are.
So if you're a 12-year-old, don't see this movie.
No.
It's probably not for you.
It is
there's
hard R.
You know.
Definitely a harder.
So did I enjoy myself? I did. Not quite as much as I thought I would, but I think this was a nice entry into the books of at least somewhat raunchy comedy, to which there aren't enough of these, I think, in general, but they're hard to make. So I'll say...
I would also like to see Jennifer Lawrence do more comedy. I think she's got a pretty natural gift for it, actually.
Yeah, I think she has a good dry humor, dry wit about her.
Delivery.
And yeah, she really threw herself into this role. She gave it all she got. And I also agree about the 19-year-old kid. What's his name?
Andrew Feldman.
Feldman.
Yeah.
The actor is, he did a great job. He hit all the points that he needed to hit to play this role.
Related to Corey Feldman.
Really?
No, I made that up.
Oh,
I hooked you all with that one. That was good.
Pretty big age gap there. But his father.
Could be cousins. Second cousins.
Second cousin.
Yeah. That's a little joke from the movie.
That was a joke movie joke.
Yeah, so, do you need to see in theaters? I don't think you do, unless you really want to see Jennifer Lawrence naked fighting in the sand on the big screen. If you need to see that, well, there it is for you. But otherwise, I think you can wait until you have it streamable on your own television. And but I enjoyed.
And there
I'll
we
leave it
are.
at that. Yeah.
There we are. Well, getting down to the old rating system here, I'm going to use my what was my favorite side joke of the movie that made me giggle anytime it was referenced or shown, which is how many cocaine-addicted dogs would you give this movie? 0 being the worst because, well, no dog, no cocaine, no nothing. 5 being the best because then you got yourself a hunting pack there for some cocaine. So, Matt?
Well, it's going to be hard for me to give a super high rating to a movie that's as formulaic as this one. There are elements that stray away from the formula, but the formula is, here's a problem, here's a lie.
They find out about the lie the wrong way.
Here's them carrying out the lie. Here's them finding out about the lie, and resolution from there.
This sounds like the same review you gave. Remember that Jennifer Lawrence movie where she got the job? Not Jennifer Lawrence. Jennifer Lopez. where she got the job that she wasn't
Yes,
qualified for.
yes,
And that was
yes.
like our exact review of it was just like, yeah, it was really formulaic. I mean, this is not as formulaic as
No.
that movie.
Right.
But I feel like your review is very similar to that movie.
Are
Well-
you saying his review is formulaic?
Oh,
It might be.
be.
Well, what I'm gonna say about my formulaic review and this formulaic movie is that the reason it won't get a super high rating from me is that I'm always looking for outside the box. I'm always looking for a new story that hasn't been told before, and I feel like this story, in large part, has been told. We've seen this before a few times. However, there is some good acting. There are some clever jokes. There is some fun raunchiness.
Some good fighting.
There is some nude fighting, and so I'm gonna go with 3 cocaine addicted dogs out of 5, a little bit above average, but if you're of age and of persuasion to enjoy a few sex jokes or a lot of them, I'd say go see it.
Fair. TM?
I'm gonna say there's always room for cocaine addicted dogs. I'm gonna give it a solid 3. 3.0.
Mm-hmm.
2 3s in a row here.
Mm-hmm.
Marie?
Well, I decided as we were walking out of the theater, I was giving it a 3.
Oh, look at that.
That puts a lot of pressure on me.
Is Todd gonna break the trend?
Well, I'm not going to change my rating to make it the perfect
No.
3 score because that would go
No,
against
that would
my
be
journalistic integrity here.
Correct. Good job.
So I landed on a 2.9. I was not far.
Oh,
That's
man.
right there.
Ah.
Yeah. And I thought about changing it to 3 after we got 2 in a row, but I was like, I can't do that.
No, don't do it. Be
I
yourself, Tom.
I do think this is a funny movie. I do think you should go see it. It's above average. I think the formulaic issues were a little bit more of an issue for me than most people, but outside of that, I mean, it does take a special movie to have a formulaic story, but then still hit it off that you enjoy it the whole
Yes.
time. So that's why it's not getting below average or anything like that. Is that it did use elements you've already seen from other movies and stuff like that, but it did its own unique humor at times and stuff and situational laughter and all that kind of stuff that it earns something better than just saying, oh, it's a formulaic movie. So so that's where I'm at.
Okay. Well, any last thoughts before we wrap up?
I've given everyone nicknames in this car for our podcast.
Oh.
Does anyone want to hear them before we
Please.
stop?
Sure.
Nah, I'm intrigued.
I haven't had a nickname in years.
All right. Marie, you're Miss Sensible.
That's good.
These are all based off of reviews.
Yeah.
Tim, you're Fanboy.
Yeah, no, that's fair.
Matt, you're Recap. And I'm Wildcard, because I don't know
Yeah.
what I'm going to say most of the times when we start recording.
Okay.
That's fair. That's all fair.
Fair enough.
I do, as an internet joke about me is I like everything. So
Mm-hmm. Well, you liked this one,
I did.
but we all kind of did.
Yeah.
No,
So
it was fun. It was fun.
You've also said plenty of times on the podcast, we've reviewed movies that you don't like. I mean,
Yeah,
it's an internet joke, but
I know. It is
listen
an
here,
internet joke.
audience. Tim doesn't
When I
love
don't like
everything.
it,
all
when I
right?
don't like it, I really don't like it. Either.
Yeah.
yes. Well, that then will wrap it up for this episode of Matt and Todd Go to the Movies, where we reviewed the movie No Hard Feelings, and we gave it a rating, an overall rating of 2.975 cocaine addicted dogs.
What does that round up to?
Out of 5. It rounds up to 2.98.
Oh,
But yeah. So I think in general,
that's a recommendation.
that's a recommend. We would say you should see this movie. I think we're all on the same page that you don't really need to see it in the theater. But if you're looking for some raunch, this movie delivers. If you're looking for some heart, this movie surprisingly comes with that too. So, thank you for listening to not only this episode, but any other episodes that you've listened to as a listener, subscriber, downloader. Do all those things, lots more. And we will see you next time.
Da 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 da
Da da
da da da.
da da da.